Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're starting off thinking about um, those really steadying forces in our lives.
You mean like the people who provide that constant sense of reassurance, like anchors?
Exactly.
Mm.
Anchors, that's the perfect word. In a world that can feel, well, pretty turbulent sometimes.
It really is a fitting image, something dependable, holding firm.
Yeah. And often it's the people whose influence isn't loud or demanding. It's quieter,
Quietly pervasive. They become these, well, vital anchors for us.
right? And that's really what I wanted to explore today, a deep dive into the impact of someone who was exactly that for me, my grandmother Evelyn.
Okay.
Our aim isn't like to uncover some huge secret revelation, but more to understand the lessons,
Mm.
the resilience and grace she seemed to embody.
Mm.
And maybe by looking at her example, you listening can find some insights, for finding your own strength, your own contentment in everyday life.
It's fascinating how those really significant influences often work so subtly, isn't it? Less about big pronouncements, more about, well, a consistent pattern, small actions, inherent character.
Yes.
So let's start there. When you think about the essence of Evelyn, what comes to mind first? Those defining
The
characteristics.
first things I picture are, they're really vivid, actually. The way the corners of her eyes,
Mm-hmm.
they deepened into this network of fine lines when she smiled.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like you could almost see a lifetime of, well, happy moments sort of etched there.
That's lovely.
And her voice, it had
Mhm.
this wonderfully gentle, almost melodic quality.
Melodic,
Yeah.
even when talking about difficult things.
Even then, even when she was recounting times that, must have been incredibly challenging.
Right.
And then there was just this warmth, an inherent warmth and a quiet strength. It just seemed to radiate from her.
Quiet strength. It's not an imposing strength.
No, not at all. More like a deep-rooted steadiness.
That contrast is quite telling in a resilience, but a gentle outward manner. Often the truly strong people don't need to be, well, loud about it. You mentioned her affection showing through small gestures. Can you give us some examples of that?
Oh, definitely. It was never about, grand displays. It was the unexpected cup of tea,
Yeah.
appearing right when you felt completely overwhelmed,
Mm.
or a perfectly knitted scarf arriving just as the first real chill set in. Tangible things, little expressions of her care.
Little things that mean a lot.
But maybe the most impactful thing, her complete focus. When you were talking to her, she was there.
Undivided attention.
Yes, you genuinely felt heard, like your thoughts, your feelings, they actually matter.
Those consistent, maybe seemingly minor acts, they create such a profound sense of security, don't they? Connection.
Yeah,
Speaks to a deep well of empathy, I think.
for sure.
You also mention an indomitable spirit. Life throws curveballs, obviously. How did Evelyn navigate the more difficult times?
Well, her life certainly had its share of challenges. I mean, she lived through periods of real economic hardship, times when everyday conveniences just, well, weren't available like they are now. And she experienced personal losses, too, things that would test anyone.
Of course.
But what always struck me was her refusal. She had refused to become bitter or cynical.
That's key, isn't it?
It really is. She had this remarkable resilience, this ability to navigate those storms without letting them harden her heart.
So for her, strength wasn't about avoiding difficulty.
No, I don't think so. It was about the capacity to recover, to keep moving forward, but with a sense of grace.
That's a valuable distinction. Resilience as bouncing back, adapting, rather than just not experiencing hardship.
Exactly. A dynamic process.
You also said you learned from her more through observation, less direct teaching.
Yeah, very much so. It was kind of like learning through osmosis.
Okay. What sort of perspective did you absorb just by being around her?
So much of it was just how she saw the world, her deep appreciation for the simplest things, genuinely simple.
Like what, for instance?
Well, in a culture that often pushes, getting more stuff, Evelyn found real joy in things like a perfectly ripe tomato from her garden.
Something she nurtured herself.
Exactly. Or the delicate patterns of frost on a window pane. Just a fleeting moment of natural beauty, she'd point out.
Pay attention.
Yes. Or even just the routine of a family meal, the connection, the conversation around the table. It wasn't taken for granted.
Mm-hmm.
She taught me, implicitly really, that contentment isn't some far-off goal you achieve. It's right here, accessible in the everyday details if you just, well, pay attention.
That ability to find joy in the ordinary. It's often a sign of inner peace, isn't it? Training your focus.
I think so.
You mentioned a guiding philosophy of hers, too. Tend your own garden. What did that mean to her, practically speaking?
Ah, yes. Tend your own garden. For Evelyn, that was this really powerful way of saying, look, focus your energy where you can have an influence.
Okay, like what?
Like your own efforts, your attitude, the way you treat other people, cultivating your inner world, your own little patch, with care, with integrity.
Instead of getting consumed by anxieties about things you can't control.
Precisely. It's been such a useful compass for me, honestly,
Yeah.
especially when facing uncertainty or just frustration.
It's a reminder to act where you can and let go of what you can't change.
Exactly. Agency.
That's a beautifully concise piece of wisdom. Very practical. And it wasn't just a saying for her, right? You mentioned her actual garden.
Oh, absolutely. Not just a saying. Her actual garden. It wasn't some pristine, perfect showpiece.
Wow.
No, it was a working garden. Lively. A mix of vegetables and flowers, maybe a little bit wild around the edges.
I can picture it.
And that's where I learned so much hands-on stuff. She showed me how to tell a weed from a seedling, which is harder than it sounds sometimes.
True.
And the magic of compost. She called it black gold. And the quiet satisfaction of harvesting something you'd cared for from just a tiny seed.
So those weren't just gardening tasks.
Not at all. They were life lessons disguised as chores, really. Lessons in patience, nurturing, cycles of life, the reward of consistent effort.
And the sensory details, too, I imagine. The smell of the earth, the flowers.
Oh, completely. Damp earth, the fragrance of her roses. That's like a sensory timestamp in my memory. Takes me right back.
Anchored in the senses. You also talked about her kitchen being central. What was that like?
Oh, her kitchen. It was truly the heart of the home. Always.
In what way?
Well, the smells, mostly. Incredibly comforting smells. The warmth of baking bread, the aroma of soup simmering on the stove for hours.
Food as love.
Definitely one of her primary ways of showing love, yes. Sitting around her kitchen table. It felt like being completely enveloped in warmth. Safety.
I get that.
Even now, certain scents, cinnamon, maybe roasting vegetables, they instantly transport me back.
Yeah.
To that feeling of being completely cared for.
It's amazing how powerful scent memory is, how it evokes belonging and comfort.
It really is.
So as you got older, how did that relationship with Evelyn change? Did it evolve?
It really did. It shifted, from that more traditional dynamic, caregiver and child, to something else.
To what?
To genuine connection, mutual respect. She became a real confidant.
Someone you could talk to about anything.
Anything. Knowing I'd be met with empathy, understanding, not judgment. She had this incredible ability to just listen, really listen.
And ask good questions, maybe.
Insightful questions, exactly. Questions that would help me see my own challenges from a different angle.
Perspective.
Yeah. Her life experience, all those years, it just offered this incredible perspective, a broader context. It often helped me realize my immediate worries weren't quite as, overwhelming as they felt.
That gift of perspective grounded in lived experience, it's invaluable.
Truly.
You also touched on her sense of humor. What was that like? How did it fit in?
Oh, her humor was wonderful. Just wonderful. It was dry, observant, often came with this little twinkle in her eye.
Subtle.
Very. Never unkind, never malicious, but always able to sort of cut through pretense. Remind you not to take yourself too seriously.
That's a useful skill.
Absolutely. She had this knack for gently diffusing tense situations. A perfectly timed, understated remark. It was amazing.
So another facet of her resilience, really, finding lightness.
I think so, yeah. Humor is a way to cope, to maintain perspective. A really healthy approach to life.
So when you pull it all together, thinking about Evelyn's life, her impact on you, what would you say is her most enduring legacy?
It's not found in grand achievements, or public recognition. It's much more subtle than that.
Woven into things.
Exactly. Woven into the fabric of the lives she touched and the values she instilled, that quiet resilience we talked about, that unwavering kindness, that deep appreciation for the beauty of the ordinary, and, of course, that core principle, tend your own garden.
Those seem like the threads.
Yeah. And it's in the memories, too. Countless memories, the echo of her laughter, just the enduring feeling of her comforting presence. She represents that essential human connection, that vital link between generations that gives life such meaning, depth.
So coming back to our starting point, she really has functioned as a true anchor in your life.
Absolutely.
Looking back, what has that anchoring presence meant most profoundly?
She's been a constant reminder, I suppose, of where I come from, grounding me in the present and subtly guiding my way forward.
Her influence, yeah, often understated, but so deeply felt,
Mm.
so long-lasting.
Mm-hmm.
She really showed me that a life of significance doesn't need to be loud or grab attention, that real strength can reside in quiet grace, in perseverance, and just appreciating the simple beauty that's all around us.
It's a really powerful illustration, isn't it? How people who act with quiet integrity, consistent kindness, how they can have such a truly lasting impact.
It really is. Well, thank you for joining me on this deep dive into Evelyn's life and lessons.
My pleasure.
And now I'd encourage you listening to maybe take a moment. Think about the anchors in your own life. Who are those people whose quiet influence has shaped who you are? What lessons have they taught you, maybe without even trying? Yeah, it really prompts that question, doesn't it? In a world that often celebrates the dramatic, the loud, the attention-grabbing, how can we get better at recognizing and valuing the profound impact of quiet influence in our own lives and in others?
A vital question to consider. Thank you for listening to The Deep Dive.